change your view. Heard you moved out west. Rumors, gossip, tabloid
and we asked her if she could sing the school song. Are you ready?
I found out they were wrong a little later.
Oh yeah, we're gonna turn. They're on. I've got mine on. I'm sorry. Okay. Clear all mutes. There we go. All right, we got all the mics on. Thank you. So this is the first time. Jan, why don't you come with me? Come on. Like I said, I only get to publicly embarrass you twice.
All right.
We have a new commissioner, Jan Freed, and this is her plaque, which she was already using. But welcome.
Thank you very much.
You have some words of wisdom. You're welcome to share them.
No, I'm fine.
Jan said we did this last time, huh?
Welcome again.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started here. I want to welcome everybody to the Planning and Zoning Commission for the City of Des Moines for September 19th, 2013. Just to get the rules and procedures out of the way here. The Planning and Zoning Commission is generally an advisory body to the City Council. The City will hold a public hearing and make the final decisions on all matters before the Commission other than site plans and preliminary subdivision plats. The Commission's decision to approve or deny a site plan or preliminary subdivision plat, boy, that's easy enough for you to say, is the final decision by the city unless an applicant appeals to the City Council. If you're here on an item, you need to contact the City Clerk or Community Development Department staff for details on the council hearings, because the council hearing will be the final hearing. This evening, applicants will be given 10 minutes to present the request. Proponents and then opponents are allowed to speak, with each speaker allowed a maximum of 5 minutes. And everybody knows I always give a little bit more time, but generally it's 5 minutes. Proponents and then opponents from the public are allowed to speak in that order, with each speaker allowed a maximum of 5 minutes. Applicants will then be given 5 minutes for rebuttal. The hearing will then be closed, and the Commission, after a motion, will discuss and vote on the issue. All comments are to be germane to the issues under consideration, and speakers are to maintain a courteous manner. Items listed on the consent portion of the agenda will not be individually discussed and will be considered for approval in accordance with the recommendation in the staff report, unless an individual present or a member of the Commission requests the item be removed from the consent agenda and separately considered under the public hearing agenda. The City of Des Moines is pleased to provide accommodations to individuals or groups with disabilities and encourages participation in city government. To better serve you when possible, please notify us at least 3 business days in advance at area code 515-283-4209 should special accommodations be required. We have assistive listening devices are available in these council chambers. Planning and Zoning Commission meetings are also broadcast on Mediacom Cable Channel 7 for customers with that service. Broadcast is also streamed in real time on the City of Des Moines website at www.dmgov.org. You need to click the Watch Live link for those meetings. Kathy, do we have quorum? We have a quorum. Is there a motion on the minutes? Greg, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes as written, please signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Okay, and we got 3 abstentions. Got that, Kathy? Me and Jack and Joanne. Got it? Okay. I'm going to go ahead and take up the consent items. Is there any other consent items we want to move?
I'd like to move
Number
number 4.
4. Anybody? Are you okay with that, Tim? You'd like to hear it? Okay, all right. All right, any other items other than 4?
What about item number 6?
Number 6? Any discussion with respect to 6? Is there anyone here to speak in opposition to item number 6? Let me tell you which one it is so you'll know. It's a request from Youth Emergency Services represented by Stephen Quirk for the following action related to the rezoning property located at 918 Southwest 11th Street. There's a vacation of 20 feet of Railroad Avenue south of the adjoining subject property and a determination whether the proposed amendment is in conformance with the Des Moines City's Community Character Plan. Then rezoning from C1 Neighborhood Commercial to PUD and approval of the PUD. Is there anyone here to speak on that item? Anyone have any questions as to whether that item is one that you're here for? Okay, seeing none.
Mr. Chair, item 7 also, from staff standpoint, is we're amenable. to
Item
that.
number 7.
Move to the consent if there's no objections on the part of the commission.
Is there anyone in the audience to speak on item number 7? Let me tell you which one that is, too. It's a request from Dan Cruz for approval of a preliminary plat for Stanton Acres North to subdivide property located at 3200 block of Stanton Avenue into 16 lots for single-family dwelling use. The subject property is owned by Cooper Homes and Realty Experts, LLC. Is there anyone here on that item? Anyone not sure that they're here on that item? Are you in opposition, sir?
No, we're not here in opposition.
Okay, you are the applicant?
Yes.
All right. Is there any other discussion? Any one of the commissioners in opposition to that? All right, seeing none. Okay. Is there a motion to move 6 and 7 on to consent? Greg? Got it? Okay. All right, we're going to go ahead and take that up if there's no discussion. All those in favor of moving 6 and 7 on to consent, please signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, same sign. 2. Okay. Those two. It's JC and Joanne. Or CJ and Joanne, I'm sorry. Okay, so I'm going to read through the consent items. The first one's a request from Des Moines Public Schools, 2425 Bell Avenue, represented by Bill Good, for vacation of a dead-end segment of Southwest 11th Street from Kirkwood Avenue to a point approximately 137 feet south of Kirkwood Avenue. Is there anyone here in opposition to that item? In opposition to that item? Seeing none. Any commissioner wants to remove that? Okay. There's also item number 2, request from Drake Manor Apartments LLC, represented by Ryan Winter, for review and approval of a site plan under design guidelines for multiple family dwellings on property located at 1000 24th Street to allow renovation of the existing 2-story building for 18 multiple family residential units. Is there anyone here in opposition to that item in the audience? In opposition, ma'am? You'd like to have that heard?
Yes.
Okay, it'll be removed. Okay. Number 3 is a request from East Village Growth Partners, LLC, represented by Tim Ripma, for consideration of a site plan, pardon me, under design guidelines for C3B districts and for multiple family dwellings on property located at 350 East Locust Street. The subject property is owned by the City of Des Moines. Is there anyone in the audience in opposition to that item? In opposition? Seeing none? Any commissioner?
I had a question.
Okay, you have a question of staff?
Yeah. Yep. Has that been through Design Review Board yet or not yet?
Yes.
I think it might have to go back.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, it did go to the Urban Design Review Board on August 20th, so they
Is it-
approved it as
Okay.
submitted, so.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay with that?
Yep.
Greg? Okay. Is there a motion to move the consent items? Okay. Get it? All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Acclamation, Ken. CJ raised your hand, but not very far. You couldn't see it. It's an undercover type of vote. Okay. I'm kidding. Broken arm? Do you really? Okay. All right, we're going to go ahead and take up item number 2. Eric, are you
Yes,
presenting
Mr.
on
Chair.
that one, sir?
get you oriented here. Item number 2 is located at the northwest corner of School Street and 24th Street. You can see it's just west of the interchange with I-235 and Cottage Grove Avenue. It concerns a building that was originally built as a telephone switching facility. You know, operators were housed out of there, et cetera. It had a coal-fired boiler, that type of thing. And had in the past been also occupied and had certificates for rental units, and then came back and went to the Board of Adjustment because it had been vacant for a period of time and lost those rights. And the Drake down zoning of the area changed things. This property stayed R3, however, it didn't conform to the density provisions in our zoning ordinance, and it also didn't have the required parking at the time. They applied and went to the Board of Adjustment here a month ago and was granted variances to allow the parking deficiency as well as the lot area per unit under the zoning ordinance, and so have been granted that relief. Their next step was to bring a site plan forward to reestablish multiple family units in the building. The plan that they submitted is fairly simple because they're not making a lot of modifications. And this will be a little bit different. They've done some changes to address some of the staff comments in this case. So this is a little different than the one that would have been in your packet. I'm going to orient the building properly here so that north is to the top so you can get a better sense of it. From staff's perspective, we want to ensure that the trash enclosure, which was previously located in this area up against the street, we want to make sure it was relocated back in this area, which it has been. We want to restore an area here that's paved all the way to the sidewalk. And I'll show you a couple photos here in a second so you can see what we're talking about. They're not modifying or doing anything with the existing trees. There's a couple of large overstory oak trees that are being left, and they're also have a certified nurseryman now that has approved their planting schedule to adhere to their open space requirement. So from the staff perspective, our biggest concern is probably making sure that the units are brought up to code and meet our rental codes for building safety, fire safety. And then the other big one was to make sure there was some restoration of this paved area here. So when you look at the staff recommendations, we're indicating it's in compliance. It will need to be in compliance with all the review comments, which are more administrative type review concerns. The compliance with the building and fire code, compliance with rental code, and issuance of certificates, restoration of the paved area to the south. I'll show you the photo of what the area. I'll just show you all, just so you have a feel for what the building looks like and everything. This is looking from the southwest to the northeast. I'll lighten it up here a little bit too. Again, you can see the area has several mature trees. This shows the west end of the building, and then this is the pad. We want to restore this area here that's between the sidewalk and that pad. This shows the eastern portion, and then this is more directly on, and I thought I had one of the western portion, or the east end of the building. Maybe I don't. I guess I don't have the front side. I apologize. apologize, I don't have that in the file right now. This is the consent map. Again, the way that site plans work is we send out a notice indicating that they need to come in and view the site plan before we give them a comment card. So anyone that got notice would have been able to come in and ask to see the site plan, and we didn't have anybody that had done that. So are there any questions specific to the site plan?
Any questions? CJ?
Where's the neighborhood at on this? Usually we hear from them. Do we have their?
The neighborhood supported the density issue and the variance of the parking requirement. I don't think we got a separate letter that I'm aware of that addressed the site plan. And we don't always necessarily get, because the site plan doesn't really dictate the usage in terms of what's allowed to be in the building. Other than it has to be approved in order to get that number of units in it, or increase the number of units under the way the code's written. So I don't think it was out of the ordinary for us not to get a communication from Drake Neighborhood. They were supportive at the time it went to the Board of Adjustment.
And since Will isn't here, I'll ask his question. Historically, what do we know about this building?
And you mean other than that at one time it was for commercial use, or?
Or how are they going to restore it, or is it?
Yes, and I'll let the applicant speak to that, but we want to ensure that they restore these units to current rental code. They have some, grandfather rights in relative to that, because from the building code standpoint, even though it was out of use, it doesn't lose those rights the way the building codes are written. So, but they do have to do some things to bring it into conformance with current rental code, and I'll let the applicant speak to that.
I was speaking more to the historical nature of the building.
Oh.
The facade.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything that's applicable in terms of standards that we would have to apply. So, if they may be doing something on their own that they might want to speak to, but this isn't in a local district or something that, unless we were putting federal money into it or something, we wouldn't have a review of that nature.
Thank you.
Greg?
I want to wait and ask my question to the applicant.
All right. Anything else?
I don't have anything unless there's other questions.
All right. Thank you. Is the applicant here? Please come forward. Give us your name and address.
Good evening, board members. My name is Ryan Winter, 4230 Fleur Drive, suite number 2 in Des Moines, 50321. I'm the owner slash creator of the site plan. It's an 18-unit complex that was abandoned for about 11 months, lost a grandfather in rights. That's why we had to go in front of the Board of Adjustments to reinstate that. I did contact Derek, which is president of the Drake Association, and had his support with the rehab. I've called him this week. I asked him to attend. He couldn't make tonight's meeting, but he was in favor of the site plan. He could review it online and didn't have any issues with that. From a rehab perspective, it was a light rehab. The building was structurally sound. We didn't tear into any walls or anything like that. It was more flooring, light kitchen remodel, painting cabinets and stuff like that, light plumbing repair and stuff like that, light bathroom remodels, tiling the bathroom, putting new floors down, paint, windows, as you can see, just really light remodel. I bought this from the seller, who's an out-of-state owner, and that's how I got into foreclosure, kind of mismanaged by a property management company, and he was ready to mail in the keys and just walk away, so that could have been a foreclosure, and how long it would have sat vacant and maybe become, public nuisance, and then had to be tore down. I came in as a short sale buyer, bought the property. I'm investing close to $300,000 into rehabbing it and getting it back up into shape. And it seems like it's just a good project for the neighborhood. We're revitalizing that area and putting a lot of money into it. I do have a picture. We are kind of making the windows a little nicer. We're doing, let me pull it up on my phone here. don't know if you can see that. You'll have to put it in the middle and I'll have to zoom in on it. Okay. So we're kind of framing the windows out, you know, and painting that a nice white trim, you know, to make the windows pop and all that. And then that's new siding in areas that obviously the siding has gotten rotten. But it's not just throwing in a vinyl window, we're framing around it, which takes extensive work, you know, as well. Obviously, I've been working with Ryan Moffett and Cody Christensen on the site plan to make sure we comply to the city's approval. We've been working with Chris, I can't remember the inspector's last name, but Chris closely, you know, to get all the proper inspections. I mean, we're working with neighborhood inspections and all that. We're trying to do everything the right way, and hopefully you guys see that and approve the site plan. I'll be happy to answer any questions you have.
Joanne, did you have something?
Do you know when the building was built?
I think 1920s or so.
The brickwork is very distinctive, and you don't plan, I hope, to do anything against this brickwork.
No, we don't. We love the brickwork.
Oh.
Yeah, we're doing a little tuck pointing where it's needed, but we're keeping the brickwork. That was one of the appeals of the building, was
Yeah.
the whole exterior had beautiful.
Excellent.
And we're actually gonna, you know, paint some trim work and really make it pop. Because, yeah, that's part of the appeal. They have old radiators too that we're keeping as well with the designs. I mean, that just sells itself.
Greg?
Is there a reason why you only put in the small windows as opposed to sort of the whole opening there instead of the
Yeah, just the
horizontal
larger
siding?
windows would be a lot of money to buy, a lot of money to put in and install, because you'd have to rent special equipment just to get up there. Plus, those shrunken windows were already there. I mean, a
Oh,
lot
I
of
thought you put those in, no?
we put in the new windows, but but
Size.
shrinking the size down was already done. And then some of those windows go into drywall in between on some areas, so you'd be really, that'd be a budget buster, you know, that'd be a fortune to
Okay,
put large windows in.
thanks.
Any other questions? Ken?
I thought, when you were showing pictures, I thought I saw a three-story facade.
Yes.
And your plan's a two-story. What's on the third
No,
story?
it's 3 stories, 6 units per story,
Okay,
so an 18 units total.
okay, I see the gate.
It's not 3 across the entire street.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
you see it, yes, okay.
Thank you. That was my question.
Any other questions? Okay.
Okay.
Anything else?
No, I mean, we've had the support of Derek, we had the support of the city. It just makes sense to rehab that building. It's way too nice to let it go into, you know, foreclosure. Obviously, that's why we did it. But just like your approval tonight to keep the ball rolling, because we still have a lot of bit of work to do. And obviously, time is of the essence, because we got to get this place rehabbed, you know, get the rental certificates and then try and get it rented. And as you know, in Iowa, you know, November, December are going to be tough to get it rented with the winter months coming here soon. So just keep moving forward
Okay.
on this one. Thank you.
I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing. Is there anyone to speak in favor of the application? In favor of the application, please come forward, give us your name and address.
Good evening. My name is Robert Rushing. Address is 1535 19th Street. I represent the company First Place Home Buyers. I've been involved in the real estate business for a couple of years now. In that time, I've been involved in over a dozen real estate transactions, and I've had time to develop a relationship with Ryan Winter. I know that Mr. Winter has over a handful of rental properties that he is currently landlording, and he keeps those properties maintained. I've actually seen a few of them. All of his properties are up to city code. They meet you guys' expectations, and I just came here tonight to show Ryan Winter and Drake Manor Apartments my full support.
Okay.
Okay?
Any questions? Where you go? Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else to speak in favor of the application? In favor of the application, please come forward. Seeing none, is there anyone here to speak in opposition to the application? In opposition, please come on up. Give us your name and address.
Hi, my name is Martha Schmidt. I live at 2406 Kingman Boulevard. It's at the top of that map there. not really in opposed, but just have some questions regarding the rehab of the building. We've been in the neighborhood for almost 30 years and involved. On a side note, the neighborhood did approve the site without the parking, but did not consult the neighbors who lived near it before they did that. That was an apartment building that had parking across the street, but the DOT, when they widened the freeway, put in the sound wall, stopped letting them use that lot for parking. Parking is a problem. Emergency vehicles have a problem getting around that corner when there's cars parked down there. So that's always been a problem. On another note, when they said the garbage pickup would be moved to behind the building, the alley there was vacated by the city approximately 10 years ago. So I question whether they have purchased that portion of the alley and who's going to maintain it. The alley hasn't been maintained for several years, so it's in pretty bad shape. So I question the ability to do that. Okay. There's a picture couple of pictures we took of the exterior of the building with the new windows that have been put in. And as you mentioned, they are smaller than the original openings. They've tacked up some siding around it. We're a little disappointed in how that looks. We would, like to see a better restoration of the building instead of that. Maybe if they're not putting in bigger windows, brick it up, do something to make it blend with the original character of the buildings. There's a building across the street from us that put in new windows a couple years ago. They did a very nice job. They put in 2 windows, but have buttons in the top, and it looks like it's always been there. So we're concerned about what's going to happen with the building. Is it really going to be restored? Because it's in bad shape. I've been through there. I've seen holes in walls. I've seen just spraying of white paint going up. So we do have some concern and would like a little more input about what they're going to be doing with especially the interior and exterior of the building in a historic neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? I'm sorry.
Sure.
Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else to speak in opposition to the application? In opposition to the application? Mr. Winter, do you need any additional time for rebuttal, or?
Yeah, I would like to address. Just a few notes, board members. We did have Waste Management come out. They're going to be picking up the trash, and they said that alley was, fine for them to work with their equipment and stuff like that. Obviously, we would maintain that alley to the portion of our property line, so that did not seem to be an issue with us. The picture of the window, that's an unfinished product, so I don't know if we have another one. With her picture, you could kind of see the building's brown with white trim, so we're going to paint that siding. Yeah, that's the side of it. It's only on the front, right there. So we're going to have, that siding painted brown, and the reason that siding is a little bit thicker is because that's consistent with the other windows as well, because we wanted consistency, and then we're going to have that white trim around the window. I mean, it's really going to look sharp and pop with the white trim and the brown facade of the building. I'd be happy to meet with you. I mean, you can be the first one through when we completely rehab the property. I mean, I think instead of you objecting in a formal meeting, you could always call me and we could work it out behind the scenes. But needless, I mean, I'd be happy to meet with her whenever she wants. She was in opposition at the Board of Adjustments meeting, so I think if this gets through, we'll want to be on the same page so we can make this a win-win for both of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Tim, did you have a question?
Yeah, I just have are these 1 and 2 bedroom apartments?
They're all 1 bedroom.
Okay, and your market rate for them?
$495 to $525. Okay. They're going to be lower than market rent, just to try and fill them sooner.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing. Do we have a motion? Joanne, you're moving it? Okay. Any discussion?
Yeah.
Greg?
Just offer a couple thoughts to the board. If you can leave that photo up, that last one with the infill, yeah, that's good enough. Yeah, I mean, architecturally speaking, I'm pretty disappointed in the, what I would call sort of suburban horizontal siding in this historic building. I think it's pretty disappointing, and there's lots of different solutions. I recognize that if there's interior walls in the way, you know, that would be very difficult to move those and widen the windows, and so I understand all that. I think it is disappointing. I don't know if there's much we can do about it. The only positive I sort of seen is if at some point somebody picks this up or wants to do a more historically accurate window, at least these are set back. It doesn't appear as though the masonry's been damaged. So if somebody ever wanted to take on that caliber of project or that cost of project, it could be done. So anyway, just a few thoughts.
Anyone else? Okay.
Me.
Jack, sorry.
I glance at this as I drive down the interstate, and I've observed it to be a very interesting building. Glad somebody's doing something to it. I agree with Greg that there's probably a more distinctive way to do that, but I also observe from the historic Google Earth pictures that are available to us from the street view that the siding effect has been there. They've just replaced it with new siding as they put in the windows. So it doesn't look to me like they changed that aspect of the building. They just updated it. It's an unfortunate solution, I agree, but I did notice that it's not original to the current owner.
Anything else? I'm going to call the question. All those in favor of staff's recommendation, please indicate by raising your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Acclamation, Kevin. It passes. Thank you. Moving on to item number 4. It's a request from Brace LLC represented by Alexander Langstret for review and approval of a site plan under design guidelines in NPC districts on property located at 901 Bell Avenue to allow development of a 1,200 square foot restaurant with drive-through window. Eric, you presenting on this one?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Grab my stuff here. Get sure I'm ready for you. I'm going to pass a communication around that we got recently, so the staff report didn't reflect that communication. But it was the only written statement that we got regarding it after notification. You did see this not very long in the distant past, or recent past, I should say, as a rezoning request to get it to NPC. Again, it's a kind of a challenging property. They did acquire some land from the school property to the west in order to get a better design so that they didn't have to impact the access that was already shared by a property to the north. They can still facilitate that and get some of the landscaping type things in that we expect with a new site. So they've definitely been very cooperative in comments that the city has given them. I'm going to show you the site plan, and then I'll let their designers explain anything. And I know they're going to take some issue to one of the recommendations in terms of the traffic and possibly with regard to some of the architectural recommendations that we're also asking for under the NPC design guidelines. But I do want to give the staff position before they make their case. One of the design guidelines has to do with the window openings on street-facing sides. Well, this is a corner property, so they end up with 2 street-facing sides. Subway is not really set up to, with their standard product to deal with this as a prototype, so certainly it will require some modification to their design to be able to do this. And I think there's also some, probably some things that stand in the way of it internally with their operation and the way it's laid out interior-wise. But we do, from a staff perspective, we want to express that as an MPC property, it does need to have something that reads to the primary street here, which is Southwest 9th. In this case, we would be talking about the elevation in the upper left-hand side of the elevation sheet. So a second thing would be we would want that also to have a secondary entrance. Now, if you read the letter of the guideline, it really wants that to be the prominent primary entrance. We understand that in order to facilitate concealing the drive-through function, that rotating the building was the best solution. So at a minimum, staff does want to see a secondary entrance. One of the options for this would perhaps bring this to the corner and have a common vestibule at the corner that would serve the building and still achieve that. Again, add that to the window openings. We think that it would do a lot in order to meet with the spirit and intent of the design guidelines for NPC. Getting to the layout of the site, we want to, we have a little concern about this arrangement. I think their design is in response to concerns from the owner to the north in trying to really route drive-through traffic to come in this entrance and be directed into the drive-through this way, trying to deter traffic from coming off of Southwest 9th to come in and come into the drive-through. The reality of that situation is that traffic's going to come in regardless. There's always going to be people that aren't familiar with the area or the property that come into town, whatever. And you know, Subway is a national chain, so they're definitely recognizable as a place to stop for people from all over. So they're going to get people coming in that southwest or the Southwest 9th Drive entrance. The concern is when they will try to make this turn to get in here, and in doing so, they're going to back up and possibly stack cars into the street doing that and trying to queue into that drive-through lane. So the concern has been expressed that there's kind of two solutions that are, the way we recommended in the staff report was to do more of a perpendicular approach and get rid of the little curl. The other way to sort of deal with it would be to extend that a little further so there's no question when people come in that they are not to be entering that from this driveway, and that they would have to either turn around within the site and go back through the drive-through or exit the site and re-enter to come in from the south entrance. So there's kind of two options there. Our staff recommendation recommended the perpendicular approach. I think we're not going to be staunch in saying that's the absolute one that has to happen, but you understand the concern is we don't want traffic coming in off Southwest 9th to want to sit here in the driveway to queue into that. And I think we have a common concern with the property owner to the north. The question is how do we make that work? So the board, I think, just needs to consider the best solution for how to deal with that. And I should say the commission. Apologize. I'm still in Board of Adjustment mode, I guess. Provision of iron-type fencing and landscaping around the street side. This is a patio area here. We want to see a little edge because it's pulled, you know, it's not, the building's not quite pulled up to the corner, which would be the most desirable, but that doesn't really function for the drive-through activities. So, and they have an outdoor area that would include seating outdoors for the summer months. We want to see an edge here with landscaping treatment and fencing material to sort of define that, and also because this is such a busy intersection, it sort of gives a sense of security from the intersection as well. So those are the staff recommendations. Are there any questions?
Any questions?
I just had a couple.
Yes.
So their main entry currently in their design, is it on this sort of south
Yeah, it
end?
faces south, so where my
Okay.
finger is right there.
And can you show me again, because I didn't see their drawings in our package, the
Drawing.
east side
It'd
elevation?
be the south side is the main
Yep,
entrance.
and what's the east?
And then the east.
Oh, I see it.
The east
Okay.
is the upper left-hand corner. We'd want to see their door here. Or I understand this is probably where their restrooms are or their kitchen. Probably with the drive-through on the other side, this is the restroom side, I would imagine. We want to see the window openings extended to meet the design guideline. And, you know, if the entrance had to come to this corner to match with another corner entrance, I don't think it has to be centered. I don't think we're, you know, symmetry is as important to us as the fact that we're addressing both streets with an entrance.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you. Is the applicant here? Eric?
Yes.
Please come forward, give us your name and address.
Good evening. My name's Alex Langstrap. My address is 304 Northeast Hanover Court, Ankeny, Iowa.
Have anything?
No?
Your chance to talk.
Do you have any questions?
Have any questions?
Can you tell us, and it may be either one of you, but I'd like to know more about the design of the patio and how you see it connecting to the corner for pedestrians, and are there pots, are there plants, or is it just gray concrete paving with one tree?
Whatever's required, whatever you guys want to see.
What do you want to see? You're the owner.
Well, I want to see it. I'd like to have the patio there, the iron railing for protection in case there's kids running around out there. But what I want to see is when people drive up and they see it for the first time done, I want them to say, "Wow, that really looks nice." Landscaping, I mean, it all has to complement the building, you know, even the parking lot. Granted, it's going to be paved, but I mean, if you can accent with greenery and, you know, and shrubs and trees and so on and so forth, I want it to look nice.
Okay. Thanks.
Alex, who's with you?
Brad Overture.
I'm Brad Overture for Cooper Crawford and Associates, 475 South 50th Street, Suite 800.
Thanks. CJ, do you have something?
I'd like to know if you agree with the staff recommendations.
We agree with the staff recommendations, except for the drive-through part. We do feel that we can extend this out to try to keep traffic from making that back up. We also think that if we do bring it into perpendicular, that you're going to bring it a little closer to the southwest 9th side, so you're going to end up incurring more backing and stacking that could push into southwest 9th, because you're going to have two distinct entrances to the drive-through. You're going to have people coming off of Bell, and then you're going to have people coming off of 9th, and they're going to have to wait for each other and alternate to get into the drive-through. So I think in our minds, it's going to cause more stacking issues than having people come in and say, this doesn't look quite right, we need to maybe drive through or just park and go inside.
I guess this is a question for staff that's been reviewed by traffic and safety.
Yes,
Jennifer.
traffic and transportation raised the concern about the potential for the stacking. I think a solution that deals with that issue, staff happened to write a report to indicate the perpendicular. The perpendicular will better facilitate the movement so they aren't sitting there, but he's correct in that when it's really busy and they're queuing up even beyond that, you know, anyone coming in that southwest 9th Street side is going to present an issue. So I think staff's main concern was getting that, reducing that or minimizing that potential. I don't know if we can completely eliminate every situation when it's really busy, but certainly if we can lower the number of instances where cars may stack or back into southwest 9th, we definitely want to do that. So,
Thank you.
Jan?
Yeah. So what's the best response to John Hemminger's letter?
The best response is to extend that drive. I've been talking with him ever since I started with Brad a few months ago. Actually, it might even have been longer. I've really been working with him to make sure that however the traffic flows, you know, it will disrupt his business as minimally as possible. I actually agree with what he says there. I think there's, that's a shared driveway between the two properties pretty much. And I think, he's looking at the safety. I mean, his door is, you can see on the north side of that, his door to his offices are right there. And he's concerned about people coming and going, and people using that shared driveway, the traffic, concern for his customers, or customers, I guess. Clients, there you go, thank you. Coming and going, we don't want anybody to get hurt with somebody whipping in, trying to whip around in through a drive-through or anything like that. Ideally, we will encourage people to use the Bell entrance as much as possible. In making a plan like this, we try to preserve his access to Bell Avenue for his clients, and pretty much my access to 9th Street without, trying to cause or have problems with his clients coming and going.
Jack, do you have anything else?
Well, I'm reading Mr. Hemminger's letter, and I should say I know Mr. Hemminger. He's a lawyer. I'm a lawyer. He's a neighbor. I didn't know this was going to be here tonight, so it's a surprise to me. But he represents largely injured people. And persons who may have disabilities, physically, visually, what have you, going in and out of that building into an increased traffic pattern. There's no way that a subway with a drive-in coming off Southwest 9th next to the gold mine known as Lincoln High School isn't going to have increased traffic from what's going in that driveway now. I think Mr. Hemminger's letter makes a great point, and I'm not totally understanding the traffic flow here, but I hope that you and Mr. Hemminger, I hope you take him seriously, number one, and I hope that city traffic understands what's going on here with bringing probably a largely increased volume of traffic through this shared traffic way in front of, with injured people going in and out of there all day long. I guess it'd be good if for the person who gets injured by a car going in and out of subway that they wouldn't have to go too far to see a lawyer. No. But
I knew that was coming.
Yeah. But I think this is a serious thing to consider. And I'm thinking about the backup of traffic coming in that driveway, say in the lunch hour. How do you anticipate handling that?
I have a store right now that is on MLK.
Right.
And it has a drive-through in it right now. We can keep it pretty much flowing to where we're only stacked 4 deep at the busiest point now. It has been a little bit more stacked than that if somebody's ordering a lot of food at the same time. But my experience has been that a well-run crew can keep the cars turning.
Curiosity, if a car's what are they, 18, 20 feet long? At least the one I drive. Some of them are shorter. How many cars can stack in this driveway before they're extending into Southwest 9th?
Ideally, the way we have it set up, they won't be stacked into Southwest 9th. They'll curve back around through our own parking lot.
Right. So you're discouraging customers from entering that shared driveway is what you're trying to say by the design of your circle drive.
Yep.
Great. Okay. All right. Well, stay in touch with Mr. Hemminger for me.
Oh, I do. I talked to him about that. He was not clear exactly when I sent him the city stuff what that meant, and I talked to him on the phone. He actually did some more drawings about, okay, this is what the city's looking for. We talked about it, and I said, well, I think that's going to, back up onto Southwest 9th, and I think that's going to create, a traffic flow problem, onto your property. And I said, neither one of us wants that, and that's when he wrote that letter.
Thank you for your responses.
Tim?
Again, I see backing up just for the fact when, Alex, when school gets out or a sporting event, hundreds of cars pull from Bell onto Ninth. Now, if you have 3 cars in that parking lot, kids won't, I'm sorry, they won't, as a rule, younger children or younger kids just don't let people out. I mean, it's, and I'm sure that's something you take into consideration, but I'm looking at it right now thinking Friday night, after school, cars are not going to be able to get out of that drive. And I'm just wondering your thoughts on that.
Friday night after school, there's a good chance that Mr. Heminger won't be there, nor will his clients.
But your customers, and they will not be able to get out. And if they do try to pull off of Ninth, just say that they may try to be using the Southwest Ninth, they'll be stacking because they just can't get in the drive, or they'll just drive by, I guess, without even having to really bother with it. It's just, like I said, it's just another thought that I thought the commission should think about. It's hard to get off of Bell, even over by where the school empties out, the parking lot, you can't get out, south side or north side. Thank you.
I like
Alex,
your
thank you.
thinking, though. I hope that's the case.
Yeah.
And I hope we can serve them fast enough that that won't be a problem.
Yeah. I have to set up shop at the parking lot.
Well, you have another thing to throw into the mix, and that's the young people on foot. As far as lunch goes, most of those kids are going to be on foot.
Correct.
From the school, so we don't have a problem with that. Your problem is going to be after school and during events.
Right.
That are happening there. And Tim is right. Those kids will not let you go. Once you are in a queue, you are there until you die or the traffic moves. So traffic is a big issue, and it's going to be an issue there. So I'm really hoping you're giving that a lot of thought.
I have with this design. I think this is the best design to handle traffic. I am by no means an expert, but I've been doing this, for about 15. Sorry, I've been doing this for about 15 years, and I don't foresee a problem.
You don't think big enough problem?
CJ?
I am not a fast food customer, I'm sorry to say, but I wish you well. But my question is, do you, like you said, when people have a big order, and that's maybe when the stacking occurs more often, do you have spaces for them to pull off to the side so that they can wait for their order? And do you encourage that if somebody orders 3 or 4 more sandwiches or more, they go to the side while they're prepared and let the line continue to move, or not?
Usually not. Usually we will make those sandwiches as soon as we get them. Usually as they're telling us the sandwich, this is how my crew does it. When they tell us the sandwich, we make it as soon as they say it. A good crew can move that fast. They can make the
This is a real serious issue with this traffic, and I think anything you can do to encourage the safety would be most appreciated.
All right.
Greg?
I have to say, I have been to the ML King drive-through on several occasions. My daughter's a fan of Subway.
They took good care of you, didn't they?
Always. I think you've actually waited on us before. I have to say, you have one of the fastest Subway seriously. The one out on Merle Hay is slower than you. I don't know if you're associated with that one, but he does have a good crew, and I've never been there in a stack of 2. But I may not be there at, 12:05 or 6:05 or whenever the peak time is. But, and that one doesn't have a very long, the stacking at that one's, in my opinion, not very good from a planning point of view. You're stacking out into a driveway, but you're never stacking. So I think he knows his business, and he's going to know pretty soon if it's a problem.
Greg?
No, go ahead. A couple things. Everyone's kind of gotten focused on the parking, so I have a thought on the parking, and then I want to get back to the front door entry sort of comment. That was a pretty big one, actually. I think this is actually one of the beauties of MPC zoning, You know, we're not doing an out parcel in the middle of Merle Hay parking lot here or in the middle of some big parking lot. So these complexities come with MPZ zoning. If you think about the other neighborhoods we have, or even anyone that's been around Drake, when there's some big event getting out and you want to get into the Jethro's or McDonald's or whatever you want to get into, that complexity is part of actually the richness. So I think you'll figure it out. Also there's the shared driveway and, all those complexities that, the business to the north has got to deal with. They have a shared driveway. And so there is a little bit of, they get to use the driveway too. So the only thought I had, and sorry I couldn't help but sketch it, I actually think you want to button hook more this way and deter people from coming this way. I don't know if that's possible.
That is our goal, is to extend the island. North.
Yeah, to extend that island, not get rid of it.
Yep.
So anyway, I was suggesting to really try and prohibit, as you said, people going or coming off of 9th.
So Greg, what you're suggesting is a revision to item number 4, right?
Yeah, I think I would suggest that it really takes off towards the west. To me, that would make the most sense. I'd also like to talk a little bit about, and I'd like to hear your input, because I thought I heard one of you say you were fine with all the other comments. So you're fine adding a door on 9th or relocating the front door, or what are you saying?
We've talked actually about putting it on the corner. And that's where the city has got that from. We've discussed with the architect about putting in one entry and vestibule on this corner. So then you're not going to have 2 separate doors. Just for the way the building is and how it works on the inside, it's not a very big building. So you want to maximize every bit of space you can on the inside. So by having one single vestibule on this corner, we can do that with getting 2 entrances, kind of. You've got an entrance on the.
I'm happy to hear you have an accommodating architect. They not all are. I think that's a great solution. I'm real happy to hear you're heading that direction, because again, because of MPC and all the people that are walking through here and the school kids and whatnot, I think presenting that to the corner makes a ton of sense. And if the brand and the architect and everybody's willing to make those sort of tweaks, that's awesome. And I would highly encourage you to spend a couple dollars and develop your patio. You're going to have a great little patio there. And so whether it's in a few additional plantings, or maybe that tree moves in and becomes a shade tree in the middle of it or something, I think you have some great opportunities there.
There will be some more landscaping on the patio to
Good.
highlight it and create a space for it.
Yeah, I hope you do. Awesome.
And it's going to be, we've discussed also doing some sort of pavers, so there's permeable area as well, as opposed to just a concrete slab.
Shirley, do you have something?
I appreciate all of the good discussion about this, because a lot of the questions were answered. So I guess in essence, what I'm wondering is, with the exception of item number 4 for the staff recommendations, you are in agreement with all of the others. Is that correct?
It's on page 6.
Regarding the revision of the drive-through?
Yep, we are going to work on the revision on that drive-through.
And make it a perpendicular?
Yeah, well, no, not make it a perpendicular. We want to create a longer island.
Do the suggestion
That's why
Greg suggested.
That's why the one that they're after is 4.
Okay.
4 suggests that they make it perpendicular. They don't want to do that. They want to hook it.
Okay.
And then
Thank
also
you.
working with the city on item 2, by putting that door on the corner, it will be able to get us some more windows on the side to make sure we get, we can't get 40% because the bathroom is on the southwest night side, so you can't put a window in the bathroom. So we're doing the best we can to get as much window and glass and have it look as nice as we can along the street.
Well, I don't have an issue with it. I think that you're willing to make the necessary adjustments, and I commend you for that.
You understand that, CJ? What they were just talking about?
Asked the question, do they agree with all of staff's recommendations? I got the answer, yes. And now I'm hearing some exceptions, so I'm just trying to figure out what the motion might be.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone here to speak in favor of the application? In favor of the application, please come forward. Seeing none. Anyone here to speak in opposition to the application? Opposing the application, please come forward. Likewise, seeing none, you need any rebuttal time for your discussion? I'm kidding. You know, you do that and they're going to react. Anyway, okay, I'm going to go ahead and close public hearing. Do we have a motion?
I'll staff with the exception on number 4, and I'm not sure how to do that.
2 and 4.
If I could maybe offer you friendly amendments?
Greg?
First one I would offer is that on number 2, the compliance with the design guideline for approximately 40% windows. I would offer that amendment. And then the second amendment would be on number 4, revision to the drive-through queuing approach. I don't know how to say it without using jargon. So that it discourages traffic off of Southwest 9th and extends the island. I want the button hook to the left.
As far west as
I
possible.
think we would call it a diverter.
Sure.
Say extend the diverter to the west
Okay.
to discourage traffic from turning off the north driveway or something.
That sounds good. That sounds
You got that, Jeff? He does? Okay, you're going to get it from, all right. Anything else? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of recommendation as amended, please signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Acclamation head. Okay, it passes. Moving on to item number 5 is a request from Ophir? Thank you, Ophir. Appreciate it. Ophir Carme to rezone property located at 6220 Grand Avenue. You're presenting on this one?
Yes, I am.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, Bert Drost, planner for the city of Des Moines. As Dan mentioned, this is a request to rezone a portion of, or the subject property from FW floodway to U1 floodplain. The site is the former Bluegills miniature golf and go-kart and batting cage, so we consider that like an amusement type use. It's just south of Grand Avenue and to the east of the infamous Grand Avenue Bridge replacement project. The site's located behind the Vance Auto Parts. The sand volleyball complex is just to the south. The site is currently entirely zoned FW floodway. This yellow line here shows you where the FW zoning boundary stops. The blue and the pink beneath it shows the FEMA's engineered floodplain versus floodways. So this pink is the floodway, which is really where the water is moving during a flood event, and then the blue is just the floodplain that can flood during events. The city typically likes to keep our floodway zoning designations matched up with the floodway according to FEMA, and then on the same note, we like to keep our floodplain zoning designations matched up to the FEMA floodplain. So again, the blue is a floodplain, pink is floodway. The proposed rezoning would allow them to reoccupy the use. It's been out of use for more than 6 months. Actually, it's been out of use for, I believe, 10 years, would you say? So it's lost all grandfather rights for the amusement use. So if the rezoning is approved, they would still have to go to the Zoning Board of Adjustment to get a conditional use permit to reestablish the use. As you see in the staff recommendation, we're only recommending that the portion of the site that's within the FEMA floodplain be rezoned to the floodplain district. So this map here turns off the floodplain coloring, so you can kind of see the portion of the site that's in the floodplain, which would be able to be reused. So the majority of the usable area is in the floodplain. There, I believe, is one building in the floodway that couldn't be used. Then the parking lot is in the floodway, but the floodway district does allow for parking as a use if it's accessory to a permitted or to a use in an adjoining district. So they could still use the parking lot even if it remains zoned floodway. So, and here's the aerial with that. You can see this blue line through here shows the floodway versus floodplain. So again, our recommendation is that only the portion of the property to the east or to the right side of this blue line be rezoned at this time. So.
Bert, is that consistent with the new floodplain maps that have just come out?
That were done in like 2007,
Yeah.
2008,
Yeah,
yes.
okay, all right. Greg?
Could a parking lot stay in the floodway? We just
Yeah.
can't have a usable building?
They would still need to get a conditional use permit to have a parking lot use in the FW district, but they could ask for that at the same time they ask for the conditional use permit for the amusement use in the
How
floodplain.
about part of the go-kart track? How does that, what can and can't be in which?
Yeah, the amusement park could only be within the floodplain district, so they wouldn't be able to use, and the go-kart track is up here. The mini golf is down here.
Reconfigure the mini golf to get it out of there?
Yeah, and I'll let the applicant.
But parking can stay?
Parking can stay, yeah.
With a permit?
Right. And as I mentioned, there is this building right here that is within the floodway, so they might not be able to use that as well.
Great.
Can you help me understand, I'm not even asked the question, but why does it matter if someone chooses to take the risk of building in a floodway and they understand it's just that we have to then use more city services to
really, there's,
do something, or?
Yeah, two things are at play. One, by filling in the floodway, all it does is push flooding on other properties. So we really don't allow any building just because it kind of, limits the area where the flooding can take place. And then the other reasoning is for structures that are destroyed by flooding have a tendency to flow downstream and cause damage to other people's property.
Okay. So can we tear down all the walls along the Des Moines River in the middle of town? No?
Probably not.
I
Sorry.
thought that was an infamous project.
TJ?
I have a question of staff. I live in the Waterbury neighborhood, and our boundaries are both sides of Grand Avenue, and our neighborhood was not notified.
Okay.
We have, I know that the neighborhood has for many years had a sound issue with the Valair, which, I mean, was quite an emotional thing. And this go-kart track has been silent for 10 years. I think perhaps this was an error that this neighborhood was not notified.
I'll have to check our boundaries, but I was thinking that Grand Avenue is the boundary between Waterbury and Westwood neighborhood.
They share south of Grand.
Okay, so the property's on the south side.
And when we did our revitalization, we spent our revitalization money on that side of Grand for their sidewalks and such. So I'm sure.
Yeah.
I was head of that project.
Yeah, hopefully your neighborhood still got the agenda for this meeting, but.
They didn't get anything.
Okay.
I mean, so I think that is something that needs to be addressed.
Yeah, I'll look into that. I apologize if they didn't, but, and like I said, from what I've seen on our maps, we had Grand as the boundary, so, and we do notify if the site is within 250 feet of a neighborhood, but given this property that intervenes, it probably is 250 feet outside of that, so, like I said, I can look into it and let you know what I find out.
Well, I think the neighborhood needs to be notified,
Yeah.
not necessarily me.
Just a moment. Council, we have a problem. Are we going to have a problem with this?
I don't think we're going to have a problem.
We're okay?
No. And I can make an attempt to get a hold of the Waterbury neighborhood before it goes to council for the readings of the ordinance there. And I can let you know too, when it goes to Board of Adjustment for the conditional use permits, we'll be sure that the neighborhood is notified at that time. And at that time, the board can put certain conditions on it to maybe prohibit outside speakers or.
I don't know, I just.
Are you
know-
wanting to continue it, CJ?
I would like to see a continuance because this noise in this neighborhood has been a huge issue. And of course, now the neighborhood's annoyed with the bridge. I mean, this has handicapped the neighborhood for a year now, 2 years actually, because the bridge was delayed for a year. So I think they have a voice. They should have a voice because we did spend our money on that side of Grand. I know we did.
Is that a motion?
For continuance, yeah.
Mr. Chair, I think you have to complete the hearing first and then make a motion.
Well, I think we can make a motion for continuance at any time. But frankly, I'm just concerned that we have people who are unrepresented, and I don't
Well, I
want to
can
get.
assure you it was mailed to the agenda was mailed to the Waterbury contact person they've identified, so.
And I understand that, but my
And we followed
concern,
our policy.
my concern, and I know where you're coming from. My concern, obviously, is I'm not about ready to go forward with and have a full-blown hearing and then wind up having to redo this 6 months from now when we discover we've made a mistake, where we can take care of it right now.
Yes.
And then have it set for the very next.
I just think I'm going to recommend that you at least hear from the applicant before you make a motion to.
Well, and that's up to them.
Okay.
That'll be up to them. I always do that.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is, what I'm trying to find out is whether or not we can handle the problem before it becomes one.
I'm okay if the P and Z decides to do that. I just didn't want to just do it instantly on the.
No,
on
that's
that
fine.
one.
But, and for the applicant's benefit, sir, understand that we're going to have a motion to continue this. All right? What she's talking about is a neighborhood group that was not contacted. They don't have representation, those sorts of things. Just a second, let me finish. What I'm thinking is we continue this. You're going to have an opportunity at the very next meeting to bring this up and talk about it. You're welcome to present today, and we're not going to bar you from presenting today. What I'm saying to you is, if you present today, that may be fine, but you're going to probably want to present next time too. And so it's up to you if you want to present twice or you just want to go ahead and if the continuance goes forward, accept the continuance, come back the next time and be ready to go.
I'd rather speak today, and if I need
Okay,
to
all right,
edit.
all right. That's fine, and we'll get to that in just a minute. Yeah, is that a motion? To continue it? Everybody understand the motion to continue it? All right. Any questions, discussion? Seeing none?
Question?
Yes, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Do we listen to him before
We're
we
gonna
vote
listen.
or after?
We're gonna vote on it, then we're gonna listen to him. We'll give him the opportunity to talk all he wants to. I don't have a problem with that. And I think he's the last item, isn't it? This is the last item, so he can talk till the cows come home, actually.
I don't think we're finished with it.
I don't know that I had much more to say other than that, if the rezoning is approved, they would have to go to the zoning board of adjustment for a public hearing at that time, so.
Right.
There would be new notifications at that time.
Shirley, just something.
I understand the concerns that people have raised, but I think we have to follow procedures for how we do this, and Bert at least needs to be given the opportunity to finish the presentation.
I understand.
Yeah, so let's at least do that. So.
Were you done?
I think I'm done now.
I'm sorry.
We've thrown him completely off.
No, I know, I'm sorry.
I'm going to see if I can, while the applicant's speaking, see if I can find the mailing list to see.
Yeah, I'm just concerned. I don't want to be back here again half a dozen times.
Let's hear it.
Everybody understand the motion? Tim, did you have something you want to say before we take the motion up?
I don't know if it's too late, but I'd like to see if there was in fact something mailed to Waterbury neighborhood before we take up the motion.
Okay, that's fine. We can do that.
Because this happens, this happens a lot.
It does. It does, and that's my concern, frankly.
Yeah.
You need a few minutes. All right, we'll go ahead. The applicant, if you'll come forward, give us your name and address. We're going to let you talk, and then we'll take this up.
My name is Ophir Kami. This is my son Jordan. What we're trying to do is to rezone it.
Address, 932 59th Street.
932 59th Street, Des Moines, Iowa, 50312. What we're trying to do something really nice for the community. We're trying to make a business for 6 months a year to have fun. There is nothing much for kids to do in town, and we're trying to provide it. First of all, first thing that I want to say is we did send a letter to everybody
that we were informed
that we were informed to send a letter. Mr. He told me he marked it, and we sent them a letter, and it's a very nice letter. If you see that.
And that's what we're looking for right now, to see if.
He came to the meeting, sir. He came to the meeting at Pal Joy, and we said he was the only one that came to the meeting, and we sat and we talked to him. He said to me, 2 weeks ago, I was over here with my girl and with my daughter, and I said, I wish somebody's going to do something with this place. And a week later, I got this email from my son about this meeting and stuff like that, and he was really happy, and he says he's going to talk to Mike, somebody from the neighborhood association there. This is what I know.
But that was from the Westwood neighborhood, not the Waterbury neighborhood. We weren't informed about the Waterbury neighborhood.
Okay, my concern about her concern is like that. There is, I don't know how many car counts on Grand Avenue anywhere during the day, during the night, every day. It's a busy street on Grand Avenue. So what's the difference if there is 3 go-karts going around? So this is my question. Secondly, I like him because he said something. He said something to the effect of, what's the problem we are not trying to do anything. We are not trying to build anything new.
All of it's already there.
Everything is there just to clean up the weed and open go-kart, to clean up the miniature golf and let people have fun. We're going to get the stuff that's going to be blow up, you know? And if something happens, if there is a flood, there will be a flood warning. It's not a flood that, come in 20 minutes. So we take my trailer and put all my go-karts on it and leave. This is all I'm risking.
The only the thing about it is, with the way the land is cut by the floodplain and the floodway, it shouldn't affect our go-kart storage at all. It would really only be this building right here and then part of the batting cages. So there's going to be nothing really that can contaminate the environment. Or the building is made of brick. So it's not going to go anywhere in the event of a flood. We have bathrooms right here and right here. Both of those, if a flood does come through, it's not going to take anything away from it. It's not going to destroy it. We can clean it up afterwards.
And it took the 93 floods.
We would like to take the risk to be able to use this building on our own. I don't see a problem with, and the way it's cut, it's just, it would work, is what I'm trying to get at, with just that building. It's really
anything else?
It's cut.
Yes.
We just want it to be a family-oriented place for the community, to have a new place for entertainment, because there's not much there. It's just reopening. It's not really, we're not going to be doing any construction. Putting down the mini golf is going to be a really simple endeavor. Cleaning up the area shouldn't be all that difficult.
Okay. Any questions?
I have one. If you had a chance to meet with the building department to ask them what you may or may not have to do to the building to bring it back into use? The building department?
Not yet. I didn't meet with them because you are the first one. I did not buy the business yet.
Okay.
Mr. Steve Lombardi over there, he going to sell me the business in a condition that
we get it rezoned.
Give me rezoning first that I can buy this, and then I'm going to check everything. Oh. No, he's my friend too, so he's not going to. But, and then there is nothing to do. There is a building there. There is everything there. There is electricity. There is plumbing. There is everything there.
We just need to add to it rather than, we're not
just
building
clean
anything.
it. This is all we're trying to do. I mean, it's pretty easy.
And it shouldn't take very long when we're operable.
You know,
It should be a
maybe in
great
the winter,
destination.
maybe even in the winter, maybe we're gonna do a skating ring around the track, you know what I mean? So, I mean, we have plans to do something good for Des Moines, Iowa. We love Des Moines, and we're trying to do something good for Des Moines,
And
Iowa.
we wanna open it up to all the high schools. I mean, we want to have like incentives for them to not only have their kids come, but to grow the community. We want to do murals and art projects that are based in competition through the schools, to do the murals and stuff that on the buildings, on all the sites and all that we do.
We want
to get it done by the school so we can bring the community into it.
We want to do a free movie night.
Yes.
I mean, big screen, just free movie night in the parking lot.
Like they
People
do at
just to
Colby
come
Park and other
enjoy
parks
it.
around town.
We want to do all kind of good stuff. We want to do churches night, churches days.
Not a question, just a thought. He testified that the Waterbury was not notified. I'm comfortable with moving on that.
Okay. Any other questions? Any questions? All right. Go ahead.
This is just a thought. I think they should go to Board of Adjustment. Completely. No zoning, just Board of Adjustment.
What's that mean?
Because of the issues with the floodplain and the floodway. We can't do that?
It'll go to the Board of Adjustment. It's required to. If it's
But
in the
we have to-
floodway, I'd have to check. I'm not even sure use variances.
We have to do the flood.
I know it can't be by special permit in the floodway
okay.
zoning.
So it's,
this is the
it's us
solution.
first and then the
This
Board
is
of
the
Adjustment.
solution, but you should know that the standards in the U1 are what would send it to the Board of Adjustment, and then the floodway allows the parking component of it. There's a few uses that don't involve structures, new structures. Now, the structures that are there aren't going to come into play, but it's new development or grading that would occur to make any other improvements. They would have to probably flood-proof the structures that are there with any electrical improvements that they make, or so I don't want to oversimplify what will need to be done, but definitely building code and the floodplain development regulations are going to come into play. They're going to have to show if they're doing any kind of grading of the site or anything of that nature, they'll have to have an engineer's statement of floodplain compliance. So there are definitely measures in place. I don't want everyone to get the impression this is the last stop. There is, I guess they would have the ability to go with the use variance, but then we're really going to the board and we're going to be looking at the same elements and criteria to allow this to go on regardless.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you. And just update on what I found. I found our mapping system does designate Grand Avenue as the border between Waterbury and Westwood. So we'll have to work with the Neighborhood Development Division to get that corrected, because they maintain the database on the map of where the boundaries are. So.
Too late, it's already spent.
Very kind donation your group made, very kind.
But based on that boundary,
So-
the official notice with card.
And that's fine. We're gonna go ahead. Is there anyone? Are you done, Bert? I'm
I
sorry.
was just going to say, the Waterbury neighborhood did get the agenda, which would have that on there. They would have to read the agenda to see the item on there. So the official notice with comment cards only went to the Westwood Neighborhood Association and to the property owners within 250 feet.
Any other questions or comments? I'm sorry, Bert. Are you done?
No, I'm done.
Any other questions or comments? Jack, did you have something?
I know that the neighbors are here.
Right.
And I don't know if you're going to allow them an
I
opportunity.
think we ought to
speak
give them
as
an
well.
opportunity too, don't you?
Yes, they run a
If you
fine.
want to, or you can wait. That's up to you.
My name is Frank. Good evening. My name is Frank Yakovana, and I own Pal Joey's right next door to Ophir's project. And I just want to say we're in favor I talked to Nicole Ekstrom. She owns the Advanced Auto Parts store. That's just on the other side of the putt-putt. And they're all in favor of it too, strictly as long as it's used for the miniature golf, putt-putt, batting cages, no use of vehicle storage. You know, we just don't want to see anything else get ramrodded in there. And that they solely use their, for their intended purpose. And go-kart, that's fine. I mean, we're probably their closest neighbor, and that noise from the go-karts, it was never an issue. It was never an issue before. So, but I just want to make sure it's used for the miniature golf, putt-putt, batting cages solely, and that's what it's zoned for.
Okay.
Movie night?
Pardon me?
Movie night?
I don't know about that.
Movie night.
I don't know about that.
Any questions of Frank? Thanks, Frank.
Okay, thank you.
So popular.
I know.
Is there any,
Pardon me?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who wants to speak? Come forward. Here's your name and address.
Hi, I'm Mike Sprecher with the Sands Volleyball Club, 6214 Grand. I don't have a problem with it at all. Bluegills was a good neighbor. Sad that Jerry's gone, but he moved on to other things. So would be a good addition to the neighborhood. I think it's important what he's looking at doing is in Des Moines for youth, having jobs, something to do. This is an opportunity for them. So I think that if this is something that is compatible, I looked at the flood zoning map, and you had the one building was bisected. Well, that building's flat at the bottom. That's a very flat piece of property. So that's a really arbitrary line that they drew in there. I just can't believe that half inch, if that building dips on that side, takes us out of its use. So the flood damage was one of the concerns. We've been through several floods there over the years, and our building is just a similar construction as that is. It all is designed to hose down. When they built ours, when they built theirs, we knew this was going to happen, and that's just the fact of life. So we're prepared for it. We're closed a week and a half. So it's no fun, but you'll get through it if and when it happens again.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any questions?
Any questions?
Thanks, Mike.
All right, thank you.
Anyone else want to speak, either for or in opposition?
Put your floodway map back up there. Steve Lombardi, I'm the owner.
Please give us your name and address.
Yeah, Steve Lombardi. I'm the owner. I live at 1601 South 43rd Street in West Des Moines. I've owned this property for, I don't know, a year and a half. I drove by one day with my son, and he wanted to do something with it, and he decided to go to law school, so he got in, and so he no longer wants to do it, so I own it. But I think Ophir has a good idea for it, although I have to say this. In looking at this overlay and these two designated areas that you have between floodway and floodplain, I think you have misplaced concerns, and I think this map is useless between you and me. And I'll tell you why. I like to do work. I like to do hard work. I like to work with my hands. And so I got in here and I started cleaning this up, and I went through it because I was interested to know what was in there. And I took everything in the buildings. I hauled dumpsters in. I threw the stuff out that was in there. We removed the junk, and we basically re-sided the buildings, re-roofed the buildings, hauled out, I think 60 ton of concrete out of this area. Okay? Trust me on this one, this is not a moneymaker for me. Okay? But let me tell you what my point here is. Is this the thing here, or what? Oh, yeah, here it is. All right. There's I'm not sure when this picture was taken. Maybe the city can help me on that.
The aerial was in 2012, April 2012.
2012? Okay. Right now, I'll tell you, you got your bridge going in and you had no place to put your dirt, so they put it in my parking lot. I told them they could do that, otherwise that bridge wasn't gonna get done, because they were gonna have to haul the dirt out and haul the dirt back in. So right now, you've got the parking lot full of dirt. But there is right here, and it doesn't show on this photo, maybe it shows on this one. Is this showing? Yeah. You see this building right here? There's a building here, and this is the old concession stand. It's where you go and you get your golf clubs, and you would get some food. Maybe you all have been there, because every time I've gone over there to cut the grass, I've had somebody stop and tell me that they've been there and they were there as a kid. Well, I wasn't, because I didn't grow up here. This over here is just chain link fence, very tall, I don't know, 12, 15 feet high, and it's where the batting cages used to be. This building right here is a small building, and it's where the go-karts were kept. And then there's a small building that's down the end over here. And that building is where the batting cages used to be. It's where they kept their helmets and their bats. But here's my point. Everybody tells me about, oh, this is floodway and this is floodplain, and you all think that all of a sudden we're going to have a massive flood and everything in there is just going to be carted away to some dam somewhere, and it's never going to be there. I mean, it's just going to strip the land. That is so far from the truth, I can't even believe it. I went in this building here, and I personally took the inside of the building and stripped it out and took all the insulation that was in there out. The insulation had only been wet, and I could tell because I could see the line of demarcation where the water had been, 6 inches. This building is at least 1 foot lower than this building. I went inside this building, and there was never any water in that building. Now, I don't know what everybody here thinks, and I don't know what the city departments think, but this is a distinction that is misplaced and useless. That's the first thing. Now, the other concern is, okay, here's what's going to happen. The water's going to come up, it's going to flood, and it's going to take that cinder block building that used to be the concession stand, and it's going to wash it away somehow. I think that building's older than all of us in here. And it's still sitting there. And it hasn't gone anywhere in a long, long time. It hasn't moved even an inch. And I doubt it's ever going to move before we're gone from this earth. So I don't know why there's this distinction and why you're saying, okay, well, you can't use that building or you can only use half that building. That's nonsense. You're wasting resources.
Steve, understand something. Let me back up just real quickly here.
You bet.
We don't make that decision. The city doesn't make that decision. The Corps of Engineers is the one that decides where the floodplain and floodway are. And, you know, frankly, I live on the east side. I have the same situation when I'm over on the east side. They say, this is not floodway. I got a hot flash for them. They're wrong on that, too. But you and I don't get a vote. I mean, this is something that's decided by them, and it is what it is.
And Dan, I can appreciate that completely, but my concern is when I'm sitting here and I'm listening and they're talking about, okay, well, we would want to approve this, but with conditions like you can only use half that building or none of that building. I'm telling you that condition is misplaced. That's my concern, not that the line of demarcation needs to be changed, because nobody's going to change that. But when you start talking about a conditional use or permitted use, and then you start talking about, well, this building can be used or it can't be used, you know, it's already there. And it's survived all these years. Why are we now going to say you can't? When I've been being told, I've personally been told by the department, tell you what, we don't want you to build anything there. Well, have you condemned this property or what? Because if you got buildings there and you're telling us now that we can't use them, and then you're telling us you can't build them, but then you're saying, okay, if we give you a conditional use, you can build them somewhere else. I don't know what you're telling us, but you're asking them to spend a whole lot of money for kids that are going to come play pitch and putt. And I'm going to tell you, you're going to make that pitch and putt so expensive, they might as well go somewhere else.
That's not our call, though.
All right. Well.
Sorry. I mean, I have to agree with you, but I don't get a vote either, so.
Now, one other correction. Somebody said it hadn't been used for 20 years, and I don't believe that's true, because I represented Steve Udeloffen when I think he owned it, and that was probably 10, 15 years ago, and it was in use. I talked to the previous owners, and they told me it had been in use the year before I bought it from them, so maybe 2 years it hasn't been used for the length of time I've owned it. In any event, that's all I wanted to say to you. I wanted to meet you and say hello, and I hope you approve this, because I think it's a pretty good use of that property. Questions for me while I'm here?
Is it cheaper for you to send your son to law school?
Creighton, he went, no. He's going to pay for that one on his own. There's a point where the father's checkbook got closed.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Anyone else to speak? Bert?
I would just point out that if they would hire an engineer to take their own elevations, they could challenge FEMA's floodplain, and if they could prove that the elevation of that land is out of the floodplain, they could get FEMA to revise that boundary.
Although that might be more expensive than just going this route, right?
Possibly.
Okay. Anything else for the group, good group? We're going to go ahead and take that motion up on the continuance. Everybody understand the motion? Any questions, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, same sign. One in opposition. What? I'm sorry.
Can I make a comment?
That's what happens when I'm doing hearings too, because I don't have a court reporter.
Yeah.
The motion was just to the next meeting?
Continue to the next meeting, yes. Kathy, one. Shirley is the only one in opposition. Okay, the motion for continuance passes. You're welcome. We would urge you to come back.
When is that continued?
Talk to staff. They'll tell you. October 3rd is when it is.
Yeah, October 3rd would be the next P&Z meeting.
Greg, did you have something?
I just wanted to say that I look forward to when this does come back. I'm sorry, this sort of procedural thing. I mean, I think it'll be a good conversation for the board. So anyway, I look forward to you coming back. Thanks.
Thank you. We have anything else? Director's report. Eric, do you have anything for the director's report?
We'll make sure, we'll make sure that Waterbury's notified, just because that's been raised. I think we also have to deal internally with why that wasn't done before.
I'm going to urge the commission that if we see that kind of stuff where we've got neighborhood groups that we think should be, we need to get together with staff and let them know that, because we've had that come up a number of times. You guys work really hard, and I hate to hang you out to dry on some of this stuff.
Well,
because
and there may be some difference on what we believe is the recognized boundary and what they claim as their boundaries. And,
right. Anyway, moving right along.
And so we just need to get that corrected in the mapping.
That would be good. And like I said, if we've got these issues that come up in the future,
yeah, we can't
commissioners,
verify that stuff here
please let them know, because sometimes, they're out there working without a net. Is there anything else? First of all, I have a couple things. I've been gone for a while. I took a vacation. I've been doing a lot of volunteer work this summer, and I want to thank Greg for all of his help and all of his assistance, and I know he's done a great job, and I want to thank him, and I want to thank the rest of the commission for all the hard work you guys have been doing. If there's anything else for the good of the group?
I would like to make a motion for the chair to nominate Jack Hilmes for the unfulfilled term of Mike Simonson.
Okay.
For his second chair.
Okay. Eric, we want that put on the next time's agenda.
As an item, or?
As an item.
Okay.
Third string for second vice chair? Okay. For the unfulfilled term, you want to do that?
Yeah.
Okay. Just
certainly bring it up.
Just want to make sure we got public notice on that, so that we don't run into foul of that. Anything else? Seeing none, we're adjourned.